5-minute penalty to Chicago, a game misconduct, and then Manson having words with Steven. And now Butcher gets into it. We're going to have a brawl, folks. Stand by.
What's up, everybody? Tyler Cash here. It is another episode of Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast coming at you from City National Arena here at McKenzie River. Just got off work. I'm enjoying myself a pint of St. Louis brewed Bud Light before I head down to T-Mobile Arena and catch this Vegas Golden Knights Hockey Fights Cancer Night. Tommy, it has been some time. How are you doing, bud?
It's been good. What happened the last time you went to T-Mobile Arena?
Hard-fought game, tight, close game. I feel like, it was inevitable that the Knights were going to lose eventually, right? So how poetic would it be, while you're visiting here in Vegas and it's the St. Louis Blues, right? Makes sense.
Yeah. I mean, you start an AHL goaltender like Aiden Hill against the Blues. What do you expect?
Oh, Jesus. Yeah, I wasn't stoked about that. They also started Hill against the Oilers and they lost against them in overtime. Still looking good. I believe they're 15-4-1 through the first 20. Not bad. And the Blues, that actually kind of sparked a little bit of a win streak for them, eh?
Yeah, it started it. We started going streaking in Vegas and have continued it since. So, I mean, I think we're down a couple to the Sabres right now. They were in their old school throwback. So I think they're a little pumped. I think Tage Thompson's trying to get some revenge right now. But, if you somehow win tonight, it's like the losing streak never happened. And we're just 3 games above 500 and no big deal. Yeah,
the Blues were the first team in NHL history to lose the first 8, right? And then bounce back with 7, something along those lines.
Not lose the first 8, but lose 8 in a row and then immediately follow that up by winning 7 in a row, which is stupid. But yeah, that's the Blues, I guess. I don't know. Madness. Streaky as hell.
I mean, the team still is streaky though. The forwards that are supposed to be finding the back of the net still having a difficult time, but a win's a win at the end of the day, right?
Yeah. I mean, scoring hasn't been an issue anymore for what it's worth. For whatever reason, people just weren't engaged. People weren't doing the shit they needed to do. Again, Kyrie's back checking again. Finally, it's amazing that that's working. Buchnevich looks healthy. O'Reilly's got the scoring touchback. Thomas is popping out the apples left and right.
Speaking of healthy, though, there is something that we need to point out. The fact that Vladimir Tarasenko has been out of the lineup now did he play tonight?
I think he's in tonight from my understanding. Last I heard.
Okay, because he was out for 2 or 3 games, and there was a lot of rumors speculating whether or not he was going to be shipped off to Edmonton. That Edmonton had shown some interest. You don't think there was any correlation there? You think he was actually sick?
Yeah, I do. 100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
You never know. You never know with these things. You want to keep him out of the lineup, make sure that he's healthy. If he's on the trade block.
So that's the thing, right? Is if you're a Blues fan, I feel like you kind of see it. Doug Armstrong doesn't play his cards that way. He doesn't pull people out of lineups. He doesn't scratch players for trades. Really, if they happen, they happen, and they happen quickly. I feel like he shoots the shit a lot, and then all of a sudden, boom, trades happening. We do it or not? Okay, let's do it. Boom, done. I feel like that's kind of how these things go. So there's not a whole trade deadline's coming up. Let's scratch Tarasenko against the Blackhawks or something. It's just more of I don't have to move people. I'm not gonna impede my team because of it. If shit happens, shit happens. I think that's his mentality, and I really can't think of a time he's scratched a player to trade them later, type of a thing.
So he had a few bad toasted raviolis. Maybe he spent a few nights on the shitter. Sit out a couple of games.
maybe he saw he do hard in Vegas and it caught up with him for a few games. Who knows?
Fair. So let's talk a little bit about what inspired this hockey podcast. Right, we're called Fourth Line Goon. We kind of bonded our friendship over the fact that we enjoy the aggressiveness of the sport, if you will, in the true old-fashioned sense of old-time hockey. And today we got a bit of news where Ryan Reaves has been traded from the New York Rangers to the Minnesota Wild. He's going to join his boy Marc-Andre Fleury. A bit strange, right? But later on in the day, we did see that due to him being a healthy scratch, he requested the trade. And it makes you wonder, the guy seemed really happy there, right? He was a fan favorite, as he is in every market, and he bonded really well with that team. And to me, it seems like, do you think he was just throwing it out there like, oh, I want to trade, this is bullshit, like kind of testing his ego, or do you think this is a long time coming?
I don't think it's necessarily a long time coming, but I mean, he's getting, looking at his time on ice, he's getting like 10 to 12 shifts a game max, which is fourth liner, sure. He's not producing whatsoever. He's played he's been scratched for a third of their games, give or take. I just don't think, like, I honestly think it's a case of like age is catching up with him, and also combined that you're like in, the division the Rangers are in. Like, I just don't feel like there's a lot of, granted they have some rivalries like Islanders and Devils, but like think of those teams, like they don't have tough guys. No one's gonna fight Ryan Reaves. He just doesn't, like, no one to really fight with. Like, the biggest fight, ironically, is against Foligno with that picture in the corner, and now he's his teammate. So
right. I saw somewhere that I saw somewhere online he was going to take it down off Instagram.
Yeah, right. But it's
great.
Like, it's the stuff like that where it's just like, I just don't think he's effective, honestly, in his role there anymore. There's just really not the need for him on that team. But at the same time, too, like I told you, like, Rangers are struggling. They're technically a 500 team. They've won 10 and lost 10, 4 in overtime, so 10, 6 and 4. But like, they're struggling a bit, and like, Reaves isn't the issue. But if you're struggling and you're treading water as a 500 team, essentially, higher if you're cutting point percentage, you're going to want a spark plug on your fourth line versus a guy who's playing 8 minutes a night and maybe making a few hits and not fighting anybody. So
yeah, 12 games so far this season. 0 goals, 0 assists for 0 points with a -5.
Some good math.
I understand that Revo is a playoff pickup, right? Or at least to protect the guys that are producing, Panarin, Kreider, and when they're not producing, you're gonna look outside of that. And as you mentioned, the Rangers are off to a rough start. And to me, I think Reaves saw these healthy scratches. Right, he's been scratched 8 games of their first 20, around somewhere in that ballpark. He's 35 years old. He's a league veteran. He's respected across the league. He doesn't want to get sent down to the AHL. He doesn't have it in him. Like, that's not something he wants to do. So he probably saw that somewhere in the horizon where he was like thinking he might be sent down. And before that happened, he wanted to nip it in the bud. He's like, yo, send me somewhere. But what's weird to me is that it's the Minnesota fucking Wild, right? You have no cap space. You have very few players that even have double-digit points. I think someone said online, you have like majority of your team is under double-digit points. Like, and you need to pick up the extra slack from Kevin Fiala. And your idea is to take on $1.75 million, the full cap hit, by the way, too, which is obviously the Rangers are going to need that if they're going to make a play for someone like Patrick Kane, which is something that's been a rumor going around as well. Maybe they want to add some more offense, and if you can shed your team of $2 million and get a 5th round pick in replace of that, you got to do that all day, right?
And I think that's the thing there too, is like Bill Guerin, the GM, what I believe they're the Minnesota Wild, like, he's got that mentality. I think Dean Evanson too, the coach, he's like, I want a scrappy guy. I want a tough guy. They went and traded for Delorier last year with deadline. That didn't work out for him. He's now in Philly. Now it's kind of a similar thing. For what it's worth, like, Minnesota, believe it or not, had like $4 million cap space coming into the season, even with all the cap hits they have from Suter and Parisse's contracts. But they still have $2.5 million realistically at the deadline. If they're in the playoff spot or close to it, that's $4 or $5 million hit you can actually take on at that point. It's not like they're going to be hurting. And then if you can get a retained salary again, 50% of Kane or something, you have the cap space to make it work almost. Believe it or not. So like, they're not hurting, but I think this is more of a move of like, we need something to wake up our team a little bit. He's Ryan Reaves. He can fight people. He can pump up our team. He can rock bodies. Let's throw him in and see what happens. We lose a 5th round pick. That's 3 years out. Who cares? Right. I get the idea for the move, but in hindsight, crazy how far he's come from when the Blues traded to Pittsburgh, 5 years ago for a first round pick and Oscar Sundqvist. Now he's getting a fifth, but
and he was protected in the expansion draft. Let's not let that go anywhere.
True.
I mean, he's got value, but it's hard not to think that the GM over in Minnesota is just trying to pull some damage control, right? To get people excited. The Fleury move has to be that. He comes out the gate cold. He's an old goalie. He's definitely through his prime. You let Cam Talbot walk, who I know you're not the biggest fan. I'm not telling you that I'm the biggest fan of Cam Talbot, but he arguably had a great season last year, at least for that team. And you just say, no, you can get out of here and kick rocks. We're going to have Fleury here. We have a future Hall of Famer that can be here. He's going to be a part of this whole situation. Then you can bring Ryan Reaves in. I think they're just trying to hype up the club, right? At least spark something, as you said, because they were rough, right? It took they went 10 games without winning a single game, right? Or they won in overtime against Ottawa, like 8 or 9 games into
I think they didn't go on a losing streak though, but I think they didn't win a regulation for a hell of a long time. I mean, could be worse, could be the Ducks, who have yet to win a regulation game this year. But either way, I mean, you gotta do something. I mean, your cap strapped with the buyout hits. You lost Fiala. In my opinion, you kind of bungled the goalie situation there with Fleury and Talbot, and you got to do something. This is a team that can probably make a wild card spot, but at the same time, you got to get the team amped. You got to make stuff happen. And I think this is the most cost-effective way for him to do it, honestly, right now in the short term. So,
bums me out. I liked seeing him in a Rangers sweater. They're awesome. But both teams needed to change up. It's just weird, right? It's a weird time to do it. It was a weird move. The fact that there was anything going the other way, kind of surprised me, to be honest with you. But, it got me thinking. Ryan Reaves is one step closer to no longer being in the league, right? Mm-hmm. You got these other tough guys, Tom Wilson, Evander Kane, the younger dudes like Tanner Jeannot.
That's just a different lower tier of tough guys, though. That's the thing.
Right. That's what I'm getting at. It's not quite an enforcer role. These guys are forcing to adapt their game to stay relevant, stay in the league, actually contribute on the scoreboard and not just in PIMS. And it got me thinking, we're really seeing the last of the enforcers. And this is scary for anybody that's a fan of old time hockey, of the sport in general, the league, because it's exciting. It's the only sport where you can police it yourself. You can go back and stand up for your teammates. You can show loyalty by throwing a punch. It's exciting. I mean, I'm not saying fighting is going anywhere, but we're definitely seeing the fact that these enforcers are fewer and far between. And as you said, no one's fighting Reaves these days. He established himself as the last of the enforcers, like the toughest guy in the league. Nobody will fight him. But with that being said, do we feel like they're still there? Do you feel like there's still a place for these guys? I mentioned Tanner Jeannot. He's been fun to watch. You got Trent Frederick over in Boston, St. Louis boy, who's been known to throw some mitts. Where do you see this going in the sport? Are you as concerned as I am?
Yeah, I mean, I think we talked about it before. Like the ancient ways of enforcer are definitely gone. Like your ideal enforcer is a Tom Wilson. Probably without some of the questionable hits, but either way, I mean, that's kind of the way the league's gone, whether we like it or not. I mean, Delorier is probably the next closest guy, in my opinion, who meets Reeves' standard of where it is, still a little bit lower, in my opinion, but like he's fought the most this year. He has 5 fights on the year. Like you said, Jeannot, again, these guys I'm going to get to are like, in my opinion, just more mid-level, midweight guys, not heavyweights, but it means like Pat Maroon, right? Like Austin Watson. But then like the flip side of that is like there's a slight like hope where you see I'm not going to pronounce his name, but the Wi-Fi on the Canadians, like the guy's 21, and he's like just bowling guys over, like beating up like Delorier, beating up Cassian, like big guys. Like he's making a name for himself.
That was the guy that fought Cassian, right? That knocked him on his ass.
Yeah.
He has his name starts with an X.
Yeah, exactly.
Is that how it is?
Yeah. So his name's Wi-Fi. So I'm gonna call him Wi-Fi. But yeah, I mean, he's fought a few times this year too, and like he's held his own or won some fights against some top guys like Cassian, like Delorier, and like okay, like This guy's 20 something years. I think he's literally 20 or 21 years old. Like, just came in the league. Good to see. Love to see it. But then, yeah, I mean, you have like other glue guys who, again, aren't enforcers by any mean, but like, again, Foligno on like the Wild comes to mind, where he's like, I'm not a fighter, but if shit's going wrong, like, I'll drop the gloves for my team. Or like a Braden Shen for the Blues, for example, kind of similar thing. A guy will pop 20 goals a year, but I'll drop the mitts if I need to. I'll provide that spark since we don't have that guy on our team, type of a thing. But I mean, yeah, I think long term we're slowly getting away from it, whether we like it or not. But
so if
still a few years away.
If Revo is out, right, like this is the last year he plays in the league, which I fully believe he's going to sign another contract somewhere. I think he'll get 1 or 2 more years somewhere. Maybe not
with the Coyotes.
Maybe not consecutively, like not 2-year deal all up front. I still think he's going to play until he's 37. But say he's out, or when he's out, who's the toughest guy in the league then?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's where it comes down. I think it's like Jeannot, Delorier. Those are the 2 guys that come to mind. I mean, I can't really. Lucic, I mean, back at his heyday, he's big, but like I don't think he's the guy who's gonna bowl you over in fights anymore. That's the thing. He's not really looking to fight either. So, yeah, I think those 2 come to mind, honestly, in terms of like veteran guys who can drop the mitts and really throw them. So,
it's crazy.
What's up, Goons? Tyler Cash here from the Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast, interrupting today's episode to talk about our newest sponsor, Jesse Ray's Barbecue. Las Vegas barbecue has become a style of its own over the years. To sum it up with one word, it's perfection. Come try their award-winning slow-smoked ribs, chicken, pulled pork, hot links, and brisket. When I stopped in, I made sure I ordered the Fortress, and it was delicious. Let me tell you what, come in hungry or come with a bunch of friends because there's a lot of delicious food on that plate. They offer barbecue catering, dining in, takeout, delivery, and they also sell their award-winning barbecue sauce by the bottle. They just opened a location in Henderson at 308 North Boulder Highway. And of course, they have their original location located right behind Mandalay Bay at 5611 South Valley View Boulevard. They're open Sunday through Thursday, 11 a.m. to 7 p.m. They're open Friday and Saturday from 11 a.m. to 8 p.m. For delivery, call 702-541-5546. Once again, that number is 702-541-5546. You can find them on Instagram and Twitter at Jesse Ray's Barbecue. And let me tell you what, ever since I moved out here to the desert 2 years ago, no other barbecue compares. Jesse Ray's is the real deal. Check it out. You will not be disappointed. We already know Schlafly Brewing Company is back to sponsor another season of Fourth Line Goon Hockey Podcast. But did you know that Schlafly is responsible for some of the best tasting craft beer I've ever had? No joke. One of my favorites they offer is the White Lager. Lagers are usually bright and clear. Theirs takes the focus away from those qualities by emphasizing an orange zest and silky finish. Their rare style dates back to the Middle Ages, where beer was matured in deep vaults for months before emerging smooth and rich in vitamins. It remains unfiltered from keg to cup, bringing to life a German tradition with a twist. My family is German, and we love this beer. They also have the Just a Bit Hazy IPA. Their coffee stout dropped on Halloween weekend. Make sure you check them out on www.schlafly.com. That's SCHLAFLY.com. You can find them at Schlafly on Twitter or Schlafly Beer on Instagram. Schlafly Beer. Drink Mo Beer. Are you looking to sell your home? How about finally buying your dream home? Well, then look no further than Sin City Properties and my boy Adam Neglick, the smooth skating agent from Realty One Group. This is a true story, not just an ad read. My mom recently moved halfway across country from St. Louis, Missouri to fabulous Las Vegas, Nevada, and Adam was the man. Not only did he help her find her dream home, he made sure it was a smooth transition financially. He even helped us move. Now, I don't know how you guys feel about dealing with realtors, but a lot of times they're uppity, they're hard to talk to. That's not my boy Adam. He's a beauty to talk to. He's a hockey fan. He's a great guy. So let me put you in touch with him. Go to sincityproperties.com, or you can call him at 702-335-2156. Once again, that's Adam Neglick, the smooth skating agent from Realty One Group. You can go to sincityproperties.com. You can get a free market analysis, and he'll help you find your dream home today.
So we've talked about the current state of hockey when it comes to enforcers and their place in the game. And it got me thinking, once again, if you were to have the Mount Rushmore of NHL enforcers, who would the 4 players be on your mountain is the question. That was, I popped that question on you just a few hours ago. I prepped a little bit, so I'll go first, and then we'll let you follow up. I had a little bit of fun with it. And I obviously let's keep with the current times. I know he's not retired yet, so it's kind of weird to throw him on there. But I got Revo. I got the Grim Reaver, Ryan Reaves, 992 penalty minutes. He's been in 83 fights. I couldn't find out how many he's won because hockeyfights.com doesn't break it down until they've retired. But I mean, so much fun to watch. For it, he's my favorite player currently in the league. He's always a character. I think he's a good locker room guy. He brings a lot to the team as far as a positive force goes, not necessarily where the scoreboard counts. But in my opinion, he's one of the best to ever do it, current and of all time. He's got to go up there. And that leads me to my second spot, though. Another former Blue, Mr. Tony Twist.
Yeah. Anthony
Twistorelli, as Tom McFarlane from the Spawn comics would call him. But 1,121 penalty minutes. He's been in 114 fights. It was 114 fights, 136 bouts, and a career record of 84, 13, and 27. Not fucking bad. I mean, I don't think he had even 10 goals the entire time he played. But yeah, 6'1", 230 pounds. I mean, he was fun to watch, right? I feel like we could credit him for the reason we have the fight strap, because they used to just take their shirts off and just fight bare knuckle on the ice.
Him and Rob Ray, same thing. Rob Ray would just like remove a player's, they'd remove his jersey and shoulder pads and just beat the shit out of people. Like, it's not fair. Mm-hmm. But no, I agree. Yeah, continue.
I gotta have him. Of course, it feels wrong to not have a classic, even though my Mount Rushmore is more of a current Mount Rushmore, and that's Marty McSorley. Anybody that had the great ones back for that long and was attached to him for trade deals, you got to have respect. I mean, dude was a beast, and he was literally the definition of an enforcer. He was making sure that the guys that were scoring the big points were taken care of. Everybody was afraid of that guy in the league. Had to include him. And, last but not least, and this is going to be a controversial pick. I think you might even give me shit for this, because I know you're going to probably go the more classic route. But I was going to put Bob Probert. But honestly, John Scott, he was too much fun to watch fight. Too much fun. When it comes to entertainment value alone, no one looked like they had more fun than John Scott fighting. I mean, I guess you could say Ty Domi. He looked like he was erect when he was fighting these guys. Like, he looked like he was having a blast. But John Scott was awesome in that whole All-Star game captain debacle that he was a part of, where the fans voted him in. And he's got that huge family, and he won, and he was able to win that $1 million for his family. I love that story. Probably my favorite San Jose Shark of all time, personally. So so that's my picks. I'm going to go Revo, Twister, McSorley, John Scott. What about you?
Fair. Yeah. I mean, I kind of was more, I mean, I basically kind of went from a sense of like, whether we like it or not, fighting is becoming more and more of a dying breed in the sport. So like taking the approach of like the greats that did it for so long, and then maybe moving more to like throwing in maybe a more modern day era guy as well. I think for me, easily Tony Twist. That's what I grew up with. I mean, those are the fights that I saw growing up, him and Twist and Chase, and just literally beating the living shit out of people, which is great. That's one for sure. I think at my current one still, I mean, without a doubt, I think it's got to be Reaves. I can't think of anyone present day besides that. I mean, you could have guys, the name's escaping me. The boogeyman, I'm trying to think of his name, rest in peace. I can't think of his name right now, but like he would just pummel the shit out of people too. But like, for me personally, didn't see a whole lot of it. But Tony Twist for sure, again, naturally blue. Ryan Reaves as well, you know, still I think to this day in modern day, last 10-15 years of hockey, it's hard to say there's a better fighter in the league since then, really. I mean, yeah, John Scott, I mean, sure, guy's like 7 feet tall on skates, what are you gonna do against that? But like he didn't fight that well. I feel like he's just big.
He teetered the instigator shithead,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
The Kachucks, I don't know. There's a lot of those guys. By the way, that was Derek Bugard that you were thinking of for the Boogeyman.
Yeah. There it is. Yeah.
Sean Avery comes to mind when it comes to these shithead instigators, but as you mentioned, they're not really, much of fighters in the end. But
yeah, I kind of mentioned earlier, but like I think also like throwing on a Rob Ray, where he would literally take off his jersey and take off other people's like sort of shoulder pads, and then people couldn't really grab on, and he just pummeled the shit out of you because you just like couldn't do anything. You just block with your hands and like you can't grab on anything. He just beat the shit out of people. I think he fought the most Ty Domi too, for what it's worth. Yeah, speaking of Ty Domi, honorable mention, like guy was like 5'8", had like almost 300 fights in his career. Just like you said, this guy that just got off on fighting anyone and everybody.
Including fans.
Yeah,
including fans. There's that video where he's
beer in the penalty box.
He's trying to reach over the penalty box and swing at the guy. I think the dude like fell into the box, right? It was It's been some time since I've watched it, but madness. So who are your four?
So I think four, it's Tony Twist, Ryan Reaves, Rob Ray, and then like it's hard for me to go against Bob Probert. I mean, the guy was just fucking insane. I mean, there are guys who had more PIMs and I think more fights than him, but like he threw down with some of the all-time greats. He beat their ass. Like it's hard to say anyone did it better than him, quite honestly. But yeah, I mean, I think those are the four: 3 old school, 1 more modern day era guy. Hard to, in my opinion, like you could easily change out Rob Ray for Ty Domi or Rob Ray for Tiger Williams, things like that. But I mean, that's always going to be up for debate, but that's kind of personally my four based off what I watched and what I grew up with and things like that. So
I got to give an honorable mention to a former guest on our show, Cam Jansen. Also a lot of fun. Eureka boy from St. Louis, Missouri. And he literally was in the league just to fight. And I think that encompasses all there is to being an enforcer.
If we had a St. Louis Mount Rushmore, like he's definitely on it, but that's not the conversation. That's not the conversation.
If I had a St. Louis Mount Rushmore, it would be in Lake of the Ozarks, and it would be Wayne Gretzky in a St. Louis Blues jersey 4 times. That's no. Sorry, it would be Wayne Gretzky, Marty Brodeur, who's some other St. Louis Blues legends for like a minute. It's escaping me.
I mean, you could throw on Ryan Miller if you really want to piss some people off.
Ryan Miller, Marty Brodeur, Wayne Gretzky, and I feel like, and Cam Jansen. That's the St. Louis Blues.
There we go.
Mount Rushmore of bullshit going on in Lake of the Ozarks, right there next to an attraction in Branson, Missouri, which if you've never been is the Redneck Vegas, and it's glorious. It's interesting though. People will probably yell out at us right now at our screens, or if they're in their car listening to this podcast, Gordie Howe, why not Gordie Howe? But people don't realize he didn't really fight. He only had 22 fights. So yeah, it's the Gordie Howe hat trick because the goal assist in a fight, but I don't really know where that came from, considering he wasn't much of a fighter. He was more of that instigator type.
Well, that's what made it unique, right? Is like to be able to have the skill to pot a goal and an assist and to fight in the same game. Like, granted, it may not be your role, but like it's a hell of a thing to do. I mean, I get why it's named after him, but yeah, I mean, I wouldn't expect a Tony Twist or a Rob Ray or a Bob Probert to ever get a Gordie Howe hat trick, quite honestly. So
it's been quite some time since we've answered questions because we're usually strapped for time and we're trying to talk as much hockey as humanly possible. But we have some great ones this time, and I really think we want to address them. thank you guys so much for supporting us over the years. Make sure that you support our sponsors. Go back and listen to the most recent episodes. They've been great. I had a couple of guests on. We had Alex from Sinbin. We had my boy Brian, the Brat Pack, he's just blown up all over the internet. It's nuts. He's got Chicklets talking about him. He's literally got the New Jersey Devils tweeting about him every chance. He's on Sportsnet. He's on ESPN. So good for him. Great guy. Yeah. That was the most recent episode. Awesome interview. Go back and watch that. But let's answer a few questions. First question comes from Coded and United on Twitter. He wants to know if we prefer the Senators 2D logo or the 3D logo.
2D, hands down. No questions asked.
I feel like, yes, that I'm with you. I'm in a complete agreement to that. But I did dig how big the 3D logo was. That's what I
love about it.
Yeah, the advocate was the fact that it was this big. It reminded me a lot of when the Arizona Coyotes had their logo. I'm a big sucker for that for the big logos on the chest. So
I'm upset they never use it as like their center ice logo. It's perfect.
Yeah.
But they don't. It's like always been like an O. It's just kind of lame.
But I hate that too. It looks like the Bacardi O.
Yeah.
Like the rum. I've never got behind that. So HC Angus, shout out to my boy Hunter on Twitter, wants to know Phil Kessel, below or above expectations for the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, I'll go first, being the resident Vegas Golden Knights fan. Phil Kessel, if you go back and listen to one of our first episodes, I think I said he was going to have 26 goals on the season. I had high expectations for Phil Kessel, but here's why. He was on that top line right next to Jack Eichel, and I thought he was going to be the Pat Maroon type scenario, top line with Taylor Hall. Then he was top line with Connor McDavid. I thought Phil Kessel's like, he's a more stout guy, but he's definitely very talented with an amazing shot. I thought he was going to be somewhere in the 25 goal category. As we're seeing now, that's not really a thing. He's got 3 goals, 4 assists for 7 points in 20 games. But my thing is they moved him onto that third line. He's just kind of adding depth to the team. At $1.5 million, I'm all for it. I think he's exactly where he needs to be. I'm okay with him.
Yeah, I mean, it's tough too, because like you look at it in a sense of like, okay, let's go back to last year, right, where he was with the Coyotes, when he was putting up he put up 50 points last year. Granted, only 8 goals, 44 assists, 52 points. He's playing top line minutes, 17, 18 minutes a night. Vegas, it seems to be honestly even teetering between third and fourth line, quite honestly, but then also maybe some like second power play unit stuff. By the way, I don't know if you ever realized or not, that goal that you missed against the Blues, that was Kessel, for what it's worth. I don't know if you remember seeing that. You're like, oh, what happened? And then like it was the one that just Bennington just fucked up. It was Kessel, of course. But yeah,
hey, let's talk about that real quick before we wrap up on Kessel. At that game that we went to in Vegas, Golden Knights, St. Louis Blues, motherfucking John Hamm is in the building, and that is why homeboy Barbashev
he's at every Blues Knights game in Vegas too. So
okay, but Barbashev scored that fumble that Aiden Hill had in front of the net.
Yeah, that's karma for you two talking. Oh, Bennington needs to stay in his net. He's gonna make a mistake. And then what happens?
That's fair.
AHL caliber goalie talent. Played against the Blues. What you get?
Yeah. No, but yeah, there's that ongoing joke that Barbashev is always scoring whenever John Hamm is like in the building.
Yeah,
but,
literally.
So that madman himself jinxed me. That's all.
To your point, I mean, yeah, assuming these numbers track out, 20 games right now. I mean, also, now the Iron Man leader, only person to ever play 1,000 games in a row in the NHL. So many people don't even play 1,000 games in their career, let alone consecutively. So that's amazing. But I mean, theoretically, 1.5 mil. This tracks for close to 30 points. I mean, did you hope for more? Would you hope for more of the Kessel of how he was with Coyotes last year, putting up 50 points? Sure, but I think it's probably doing you a favor that he's on your third, fourth line and second power play unit to where he's not a defensive liability as much. So I think it's right what you hope for. You hope he continues it on his part. I mean, I do hope he has one more season in him and he can hopefully get over that like 1,000-point hump too. But I mean, good for him. I mean, found a home elsewhere. Had to go shit and rot in the desert for 3 years in Arizona. But yeah, I mean, guy's a gamer for sure, and literally the definition of peak performance that doesn't do anything that you probably should, is always quote unquote in shape and somehow never misses a game. It's fucking wild
he
to
looks
me.
amazing this year, though.
Oh
He
yeah,
lost a
no,
bunch of weight.
absolutely. But like in general,
and honestly, that might be a big reason why he's having a hard time finding his game, right? Or he loses a bunch of weight and he's really excited to play for a new team. He was, as you said, stuck in the desert on the Coyotes for 3 seasons and really wasn't amounting to much. Was kind of feeling like he was wasting away. Now he's on a contender.
Yeah.
I think it's great. I think he's doing great. As you mentioned, he's on pace for 29 points, be 12 goals, 16 assists. I think he turns it up a little bit more than that. And for this isn't part of the question, but for anyone that's asked this, because I've seen people asking this on Twitter, when he's going to be a healthy scratch, when is Vegas going to be the dickheads that healthy scratch him? It ain't happening. It ain't. He's going to find his way on the third or fourth line. Vegas has a lot of young talent there in the bottom 6. And he at bare minimum, he can be there to guide them. And he's got a -1 right now. He hasn't been a defensive liability that we thought he might be. As you touched on briefly, he ain't going anywhere. Good for him. I think at 1.5 million, it's great. Now, 5 million, that would be
for sure.
If he was at his going rate when he was in his prime, not so much. So moving right along to some questions that we want to get to before we wrap this up. This comes from Hako25, Aaron Hockaday, clever name on Twitter, wants to know, do you think Kansas City is on the horizon for a team? And if so, will they resurrect the Scouts? I do not. I think if the next team that in the league that's going to join is going to come from Texas, I think it's inevitable that it's going to be an Austin, Texas team or something in that scenario. Kansas City, while it's exciting and they have great barbecue and they do have the space for a team, I would just be way too concerned at the turnouts.
Trivia question for you. The Kansas City Scouts, or the team in Kansas City, what team is that today?
There's a team that's that today. Is it this?
They've relocated twice since then, but that franchise existed before and is a part of a current franchise. Which one is it?
Is it the Ottawa Senators?
No.
Okay, I thought it might be like a weird Canadian.
They were in Kansas City for 3 years, relocated to Denver for 6 years, and then relocated to New Jersey in '82, and they've been the New Jersey Devils.
No fucking way.
Yeah, wild.
Damn.
So I mean,
you hear that, Brad Pack? In an alternate universe, Jesper Brad is scoring all those points for the Kansas City Scouts.
Yeah, no kidding.
That's crazy.
But I think what's interesting is like, if it's gonna happen, it's not gonna be expansion. They just expanded 2 teams.
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that's happening anytime soon. Like, it's got to relocate a team. They're not moving Arizona, clearly. Like, the only way this happens potentially is if that deal for the arena just falls through, which I don't think is going to happen.
Yeah.
You're not moving a team to Canada still. Bettman's made that very clear. I mean, Kansas City could make sense for the Coyotes. It's still in the Central at that point. It creates a natural geographic rival for the Blues and to a degree there too. But then also, like, yeah, the Devils franchise, okay, using the Scouts too, the name and whatnot. I don't know, but I think it's probably, if they do it, it's a brand new team entirely, but it's going to have to be a relocated team. And yeah, could be Coyotes if something happens there. Outside of that, I don't know. I don't see it anytime soon.
I think we saw our changes. We saw the additions, right? The Seattle Kraken and the Vegas Golden Knights have been a great addition. Which, by the way, the Kraken, what the fuck? Who would have thought they would be in a playoff spot around this time? Which apparently, statistically, if by American Thanksgiving you are in a playoff spot, there's an 80% chance that you're going to make playoffs. That was a statistic that was brought up today, and it kind of blew my mind. And
Interesting.
yeah, so something to keep in mind. But yeah, I'm with you. I don't think there's going to be any changes anytime soon.
They'd be great to have an AHL team there. I'd say that much.
Yeah, they need to explore that more. They need to like maybe explore the idea of adding ECHL teams or WHL teams. Like the Knights just did it with the Ghost Pirates. Amazing name, amazing logo. The sweaters and unis are great. Like, bring more excitement to the sport at the bottom so that we can watch it grow all the way to the top. Because honestly, we have too many teams. Too many teams, too many games. It kind of takes a little bit of the hype. I mean, I'm saying this, but you and I are fans, so like I don't agree with what I'm saying on that sense. But if you're trying to grow the sport and get these casual fans that are tuning in just once a week to football, why not grow it from the bottom all the way to the top? I'm with you. That would be a phenomenal idea. But yeah, that brings us up to date. I'm gonna finish my my vodka Red Bull. Yeah, I switched from beer to vodka Red Bull, and head down to T-Mobile here in a minute to catch the Hockey Fights Cancer. We're gonna throw up a tribute to Jess on the Nitron again, which is awesome. Yeah, are you going to be catching any games soon, or?
I don't know. We'll see. Got Thanksgiving tomorrow. Happy Thanksgiving to all of our listeners as well. But yeah, I'm actually heading to Hawaii for a few days on Friday. So
shut the fuck up.
Yeah,
shut up.
Sick. That'll be
work
sick,
stuff or
no,
pleasure?
Just pleasure. So
that's awesome. So you're not going to St. Louis then for Thanksgiving?
Not Thanksgiving, Christmas. Probably.
Okay, Christmas.
So yeah, cool. I think in the short term, if I catch any games this next 3-4 weeks, would probably be a Ducks game and laugh at them losing per usual. But yeah, I think aside from that, probably not a whole lot of hockey on my horizon. So.
Well, as the holidays approach, we appreciate you guys so much, and happy holidays, whatever you celebrate. These episodes might not be as often as we've been doing. We're going to try to bust them out when we can, but go back and watch these episodes, because they're not always facts and news. We try to stray from that and kind of have more fun with it. And kind of
no
give
facts
or
news
opinion.
Today. It was fucking Mount Rushmore fighters. I mean,
exactly. And go back and listen to the Brat Pack interview. We're just trying to keep it fun and lighthearted, and go back, watch those episodes, subscribe on YouTube, and have a happy Thanksgiving, everybody. Cheers, bud.
Later, everyone. Take care.